Alright, so in this series I will be explaining about how do you actually code the shopping list or shopping item or order transaction. And so let's get started with it. So we first go with the basics, which is I'm just going to mention what I'm doing. So coding to create a simple order transaction, if that makes sense. Okay, now in here I'm just going to include iostream, and then include conio.h, and then include math.h. Well, to be honest, you don't really have to use this math.h because it's not really important, but I'm just adding just to show you that, you know, simple maths also we might need math.h, but to be honest, there's no necessity in adding math.h. So let's go ahead and so the next step is to create using namespace std with a semicolon, and then what we're going to do is we are going to create a class name, and the class name is going to be order. Okay, and in here we're going to create two functions, just the way I explained in the previous class. If you have not watched, I would encourage you to skip back and watch my video and the structure. We're going to create two classes. We're going to create one class in which we're going to have two access specifiers, and access specifiers are what they're private protected and public. So we're going to use two access specifiers. First one is going to be private and second one is going to be public. So let's go with private, and in here we're going to mention all of our data types. So let's go with character item name. Character item name is going to be about 25. Okay, and then we have integer, say integer price, or say integer I'm just going to mention that in a bit, but let's do this. Float is going to be qdy, and quantity, and we have, let me just move this. Okay, in here we're going to have amt, which is going to be the amount. So the rate is going to be equal to amount into quantity. That's how it's going to be like. So the user can enter character item name, you can enter the amount name, he can enter the quantity name, but he certainly cannot enter the rate name. So the rate is something that is going to be achieved as output. So let's go ahead, and since our private specifier is already created, we're going to go with public, and in here we're going to create something like two functions. One is going to be to input the items or to input the details, and the other one's going to be for getting the output or displaying it on the screen. So that's what we can do, and this is all based upon one class. So if you see, I missed something, that was I never created a class. So remember, this is a purpose thing, so I did this on purpose just for you to understand. If you run this coding later on, this is not going to work, because you have to create a skeleton structure, and the skeleton structure is very simple. So first we're going to create an open class, okay, and drive this within the bounds of a closed with a semicolon, or closed braces with a semicolon. Now we're going to create an integer main din.get. Alright, so that's what we did. Now what I'm going to do is create function. So function void input data. Input data is a function. Oops. So I'm sorry. They're not supposed to come within the public. They're supposed to come within the. They're not supposed to come within the private. They're supposed to come within the public. So I'm just gonna put in the public part. Okay. See out. Enter the item name, which is gonna be L, and then see out. So I'm gonna put some spaces in the middle, and I'll let you know why. So enter the amount. Okay, I'm just gonna put some space in here just to make sure it looks aligned later on. Enter say enter the item quantity, which is going to be okay. So that looks cool so far, but the idea is to, alright, so that's going to be one part. Just going to put space to make sure that all the way starting from here until right here is one function, okay, which is within the bounds of this public class. Okay, public specifier is not really a class, but public specifier. Class is just one. That's the class. Alright, so let's see what happens if we run this code. Certainly we're not going to get anywhere because we did not really work on the main function that we should have worked on. So even if we run it, you know, whoops, that's a, there is a mistake. Alright, whoops, let's go ahead and run it. Okay, should I put semicolon? Let me build and run it just to make sure things are right. Okay, as you see here, things are not right, and I told you why, because it just gives you a blank space. And the reason is why you have to work on integer main part, and this part is really not there. And the reason is because we did not really create an object. So in order to create an object, we need to grab this order and we need to paste it in here and use an object name to attract this function. So let's go ahead and do it. So how do you do it? Take this order, create your object name. So order, say obj1, and this obj1 can really be anything. So obj1, obj100, obj, object, whatever. So I'm just going to go ahead and take object, and then you go with object dot input data, and that's really it. So that's how it works. You go for object dot input data and trying to attract this function, so it should work. Let's go ahead and build our command and see what happens now. Okay, build. There you go. So it's right in here. If you can see, enter the item name, enter the item name, enter the amount, enter the amount, enter the item quantity, enter the item quantity. So things are right. Now we're going to go and build the things in. And since this is the input data, we're going to create one more function called as output data. So we're just going to keep that skeleton ready to use, but first we're going to finish the input data. Okay. Okay. Now here is what we're going to do as CIN to input, and we're going to go for name or item name, and here is the place where we're going to write amount, CIN, and quantity. Okay, let's go ahead and run and see what happens. Okay, so it gives us this space to input. This blink is going on, so I'm just going to write the item name and write jacket. Amount is going to be 2500. That makes sense. Now we're going to go ahead and complete this output part, which is very simple. It's just to display the output. So cout your item name, okay, and that's gonna be like cout. Okay, we're gonna put an end line here, end line. Okay, here is going to be the place for writing name, item name, cout your amount, your amount, and end line cout amount, or AMT, since it's AMT. Okay, and then here is the place where we're gonna write the quantity. So cout your for the item. Okay, and we're gonna mess up. We're gonna write cout and then quantity, and then one more cout. So before we write this, we're gonna mention what the value of this rate is. So as I mentioned, rate is equal to amount into quantity. So the amount is gonna be, rate is gonna be equal to amount into quantity. Okay, and here's a place where you can actually get the rate right. Okay, but before, I'm going to mention one more. Your rate, your total rate of the item. Okay, that's gonna be the rate. Or you could change this to add discount. You know, like that's gonna be the discount by actually dividing these two. That is amount and quantity. But that's a different procedure. I mean, it's the same procedure. All you have to do is just change the rate into discount. All right. So your total rate of the item, cout rate. And the next thing is to mention an end line there. So I'm just going to go ahead and mention the end line there, and that's it. So let's go ahead and build and see what happens. To enter the item name, say let's say shoes. Enter the amount 3,000. Enter the item quantity 134.3, and that's it. And if you see here, it does not really give me the output, and the reason is because output data is not really mentioned within the integer main. So we just mentioned input data. Now we're going to mention output data to get the output. So I'm just going to go ahead and mention that part. So, whoops. Object dot output data, and that's it. You know, all you have to do is mention output data, and you can also mention this piece of code, because if I do not mention cin.get, I will not get this output, so I have to mention this. Okay, enter the item name. So let's say home. That's gonna be 120, 233, and there you go. So things are messed up in here, but the answer is correct. The total is this, and the reason is because when you look into the output part, we forgot to mention an inline over here, this place. So I'm just going to go ahead and mention that quick. And since we have done that, we're going to see what else do we really need. We need to put a space in here, okay, so that we can get the space, and that's it. You know, your item name home. Whoa. Item name home, your amount, but there isn't a space. Let me check again, okay? So build. Now remember, since we have a float, we can actually use it into a float type. So we're going to use a float this time, and we're going to write, say, headset, which is about 4,300. Quantity is going to be okay. Your item name headset, your amount. We're gonna write inline for all of these though. Okay, we're gonna write charger. The amount is gonna be 5,000. Quantity is going to be, I don't know, quantity cannot be in float, but I'm just going to write some random numbers. It doesn't really matter. So here it gives an error because this number is too huge for the compiler to calculate. So I'm just going to change the number into something else. Okay, let's change the number to something else. Item name. And is going to be about 2,400. Item quantity is going to be about 12.9, and that's it. So it gives us the total value, the total rate of the item, and the reason is because even the rate is in the float, so you get the answers correct in here. So that's it. But what if you would want to increase your number of input, or double the number of input? How do you actually do that? So in order to do that, we're going to create a constant in here, and we're going to create a constant integer name, which is going to be, say, me equals 2. So that's going to go for 2 times, and here is a place we're going to mention the name of the me, Okay, we're going to create a for loop so that the program can recur int I equals 0, I is less than me, and I plus plus. Okay, that's how it's gonna be like, and we're gonna put this code doing these, and the rest is simple. It's really simple. All you do is you need to put I within the brackets, so dot input data. Now if I run this, it's more likely that the program is not going to execute, because the program is saying, hey, this is not fair. You just did a for loop for input data, but you never ever had the courtesy to actually create one more for output data. So they're like complaining and grumbling, like, why is there just for input data? So the build will not really run, because it says, you know, we also need the same, create a for loop for me as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create a for loop for the same. So for integer I equals 0, I is less than me, and I plus plus. So that's going to be the case, and I'm just going to cut this and create a bracket, paste it. Okay, that's how it's going to be like. Sounds good? Okay, let's see what happens now. I'm going to put an I in here, and now we're gonna run, build and run. Oh, I created an extra I. Okay, let's check it out. There you go, it gives us the output, and we get it 2 times. The number 2 is here. Okay, so let's check it out. We're gonna purchase 2 items, which is gonna be a watch and a blanket. Okay, watch is gonna be about 340. The item quantity is gonna be, let's just take some random number, it doesn't really matter. So again, blanket, let's take the same 340. This time just a simple number, or just gonna take a complicated number, it doesn't really matter. Okay, as far as the answer is correct. So enter the item quantity. So let's say it's 45.233, and there you go, we got our answer. So your item name is watch, your amount 340, your quantity for the item is 12.4. This is for the first one, and the second one is your total rate of the item is this one. So that's for the first one, and then it says for your item name blanket your amount. So that's pretty much it. So if you see it this way, you're gonna understand what I'm talking about. So this is the first one for this one, you know, first one, watch, amount 340, 12.4, and the rate, and then that's for the second one. Unless, like, if you try to put some space between your item name and remove the thing. So your item name is technically gonna be, oh yeah, that's it. So we don't have any issues now. Let's go for watch and item name, say blanket 44.33, because you know it's a Christmas discount that you're getting. Okay, 231. Oops, again, messed up. Alright, let's check this out. But you know, we need space between your item name each time it runs in, since that's an important part. So what we can do is we can actually tell the computer to put a space even to put a space later on so that we can understand what that actually means. So we're gonna put another here just to see how this works. So that's pretty much it. So I hope you understood. 4, 3, 1, 2, 4. Let's go for chocolate. Chocolate. 34. 12.9. And that's it. So that's the result for everything. Okay. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.